Hi, everyone. Again, we are here with this new podcast of this new special guest. He is Yasin Hasanian. Yes, that's how you pronounce it, Hasanian?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay.
That's right.
Who is a lighted and rendering research and development artist at Digital Domain. Yasin, first of all, talk to us about your professional career, where you come from, which is very important because your story, your backstory. How was the curve of experience that you have throughout all these years within the industry that you are right now? And also talk to us about, because we know that you were first a freelance CG artist, and now you are working in a huge company as Digital Domain is.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys, for having me. It's a pleasure. That's an interesting question, actually, because my journey to kind of become an artist was a little bit uncommon in a way that the way I started my career was I think I was 13 years old, and I was always like after recreating my imaginations, trying to come up with ways to do it. And I was like, one of those kids that always wanted to start making his own dreams and start, thinking of robots or aliens or whatnot, and, keep thinking about this stuff. And the only way that I found it was actually through CGI or visual effects. So I was, watching these animations or films and was really amazed how they are able to visualize all those thoughts and imagination. So that made me really interested into pursuing it. So yeah, I was pretty young, like 13 years old. And then I started looking up, what are the applications that are actually going to let me do this stuff, make this stuff. And then from that point, I found this school. I mean, I started getting like any material, learning material that I could find on the market. But because in Iran, it was not really known back then much. And there was very few options. Like there were a few books and a few like CDs that would just tell you the basics, but that was it. There was nothing more advanced. So I would always like try to get those and learn from them. But then after a while, after a year or so, I found this known school. If I'm pretty sure you've heard of it. They had like a lot of training materials, and I saw it on the market. I was like 50 CDs, and that was to me like the hallmark. That was like, for me, I need to get this. I need to get these 50 CDs. But I didn't have money because I was in school. So what I made a negotiation with my mother. I told her that I'm gonna wash the walls in the house, and then you give them the money in return, so I can buy this stuff with my friend. So I made a share with a friend of mine who was also interested in learning it. And then I washed the walls, I got the money, and I got the CDs. So when I got those 50 CDs and DVDs, I was like, oh, this is crazy. I need to go through all of this. So I started going through them one by one. Even I was like writing them down, like making a book out of whatever I was learning, because it was becoming something for me that I wanted to quickly go back into to see if I can remember, the notes I've taken. I did this for the first year. I finished the entire course, and then school was kind of, school was also getting in the way. So I also had to study. It was like middle school.
Of course.
So after the first year, when we started doing exam, I forgot about half of what I learned the year before. So I had to go through the whole process again for a second time. And this happened for 3 times. I had to watch them 3 times until it kind of got into me that what the process is like. So since then, after those 2-3 years of my teenage years, I was getting a hold of what it is about and what it can be done. And then afterwards, I'm going to continue, doing tests, trying to learn it and see what we can do with this, with this application, or basically this knowledge. So after a few years, I started also to kind of try to see if I can find a job somehow. If there's like jobs that would be, interested into recruiting someone from overseas. And then it sounded like that there was actually possibility that you can, find those clients from other countries.
Where was this, Hasin? What year was this?
It was 13 years ago, probably 14 years
Wow.
ago. Yeah. So then I looked into like different, different platforms. There was CG Society back then. That was, the main go-to for every CG artist. And I was always like going there and trying to make personal projects, put it online, even do a lot of works for free. Like I know this was like a curse for if you tell it to someone nowadays, like, oh yeah, I work for free. It is something that you would go through. There's a point in life that in order to make yourself better, you need to do the stuff. I mean, it's fun. You also learn it, and you also need to only care about what's happening after you are doing those projects. So I did a few free projects for a few places here and there. One thing that was really important to me was doing the personal projects. For me, that was because when you do the personal projects, you are really pushing yourself. And for me,
Yes.
I really wanted to make them as best as I could. So I kept, doing personal projects, putting them online, getting feedback, going every other, website, tried to be a creep, like on every artwork, trying to find information. And that kind of let me kind of get better over time. And then after like maybe a year or so, I, found a job that was, they were interested. They were trying to make it like a trophy. There was like a studio in Poland, I think. They just wanted to make a trophy, like a glass trophy, and they wanted to do it like a visualization of the model. And that was kind of, I think, the kickstart in doing like a paid job. And afterwards, it kind of kept going and going. There were like other possibilities that kept showing up along the way, like, magazines or, other studios that they wanted to do commercials. So it's kind of like, it ended up becoming a routine. And basically my whole career, most of my career, I was doing remote work that everyone is doing nowadays. Like everyone working from home. I was doing this pretty much my whole life. This is nothing new to me. So I kept doing this, and it was until a couple of years ago that I got involved in the Noria project. I don't know if you want to, switch the question, but I can go into that one as well.
Yeah. But which country you're from?
I'm from Iran. I'm originally from Iran.
From?
Iran.
Iran. Okay,
yes.
Yeah. And that's great. And you moved to Canada a year ago?
Yes, I moved to Canada.
And you like it? Is it very cold or?
No, I'm in Vancouver. Vancouver temperature is okay. It doesn't get too cold. It doesn't get too hot. I think it's like the only city in Canada that has the mediocre.
Yeah.
Great.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying it here. I was supposed to come here, but because I also had to do the military service back in Iran, it's mandatory. And that's the thing. That's the biggest blocker for every guy in Iran, to kind of ditch it or somehow skip it. For me, it was like the same. That was the biggest thing for me that didn't let me, move from the country for, many years. So I was finally eventually had to get past it, waste 2 years of my life, be done with it, and, make the move. But yeah, it's a process that everyone has to go through anyway. So
sure, that's a real story. So, what about Noria, Yasin? Tell us a little bit about Noria and what does it mean to be a visual effects supervisor?
Noria was, I've been involved in many projects, but I would say Noria was, or is still the highlight of my career, even though it was a voluntary-based project, it was a passion project. The point of it was not getting money or any kind of advertisement. It was just a bunch of people that were really invested into storytelling or bringing an imagination to life, and see where how far they can push it. The idea itself was in the beginning was pretty ambitious. Carlos Buena, who was like the director, he has a pretty awesome history in his career. He was like, he's been at Pixar for 10 years. And then in order to actually also work on this film, he quits Pixar after 10 years to be able to continue work, to focus on the project. And when he actually kind of inspired me, because I also did the same. I also quit my job to focus on Noria. And it started in a very interesting way. In the beginning, they were looking for, after 1 year, they started their production. I think it was in early 2011. They started looking into shading artists, servicing artists. So I found them and I reached out to them, and they said, yeah, come join us. It would be awesome to work together. So I joined them and started just doing shading. But because I was really like into the film and it was so mesmerizing to me, I just wanted to, keep helping them, like coming up with different, ideas or whatever I could to, help the project proceed faster. So eventually, I, became like the VFX on the film, but I would say it was like a very natural process. I was really, all of us, they were trying to, bring it to life somehow, even though there was like difficulties. We were doing this Zoom like 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And everyone on the team was, most people they're voluntary based. So they were putting their own time onto this film.
For how long? How many years did it take?
It took us 8 years.
Wow.
It took us 8 years. That's why I have the gray hairs, but yeah.
Oh, wow.
You just quit your job, started working in this project, and then you came back to do other things, or it was a full time?
I was once in a while, I was still taking a few freelance jobs, but my main focus was Noria. I wanted to put my main focus, no matter how long it takes. I was really enjoying it. It was such a joy for me to be part of it. And because I could really see from early on that this has a lot of potential. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to make sure that we are doing it the right way. So, and also my parents, luckily they were supporting me financially. So thanks to them, I was also able to actually, work on it while not, have much of an earning.
Yeah, so when I saw the trailer the trailer and then I saw the short film, at the beginning was like a scary movie and I'm like, oh no, those monsters. And then I saw that very close and special intimacy between the son and the father. That was very touching. And I loved the part, the final part, I loved it. And I would like to ask you, when you saw the part of the La Noria, you watch the script and you watch the project, you see it, and that was like the key element to be part of the project. Like you were passionate about being part of this because you saw the script and the project and the director.
Yeah. You definitely, when I joined the film, it was like, after less than a year that I started the project officially. So they had like a layout, initial layout. There was a script, there was a story. That you could go through and see what is available, and those were enough for me to get me hooked onto the project. Because even there were like early sound designs, like all the way from the beginning, that they were like pretty much all pretty close to what you see in the final film. Okay. So yeah, there was a lot of preparation. Even the pipeline that we had. There was no other solution back then to do remote collaboration. Mm-hmm. The only thing, because Carlos was also co-founder of Animation Mentor, we had the backing of them. So Animation Mentor has had a, let's say, platform called Animation Mentor Pipeline, which we call AMP. That was like our main thing to distribute work to every artist and to manage shots, manage tasks. And for us, we had to start from pretty much no experience into working on this scale of production into building like a full scale pipeline that was letting us, do stuff in a correct way to make sure that things are being done. And there was also the thing about managing time zones, because everyone was in different countries. We had people from all over the world, so we were trying to always make things work for every person. And yeah,
So
it was a very
Carlos must have been a great leader to keep everybody inspired.
You need to be what is to say? You need to be able to kind of get along with people and also be really respectful of their time, because you're not really it's a voluntary project. You can't really force them to do something. You would basically put it on the table that this is what we have, this is what we need to do. If they want to do it, then they will find their way around it. And fortunately, we were literally blessed that all the crew, they were super nice people, and they all were also passionate about it. So we didn't really we just wanted to focus on this and come up with ideas, even though it took us forever. We got super old during this, but it was amazing. Even the time that we finished the film, we couldn't actually believe it that it's actually finished, because I was the one that I just wanted to keep working on it. For me, it was just a pure joy.
Yeah.
Even though it was
yeah. Stop it.
Yeah. And then Carlos was like, we need to finish the film. Okay.
Great. Now, Hasin, I would like to ask you about digital domain, right? But before doing that, after 8 years, and of course that there has to be a lot of support, but at the same time, everybody must be very proud and happy about the project, because it's an amazing project. And for everybody that is watching this podcast, please go to La Noria. I mean, it's great. You got to see it. But Hasin, what are the advantages that came along after La Noria? How did La Noria help everybody in the team?
Oh God, I learned a ton from this. A ton. Every day for me was a learning process, from creative aspects to technical aspects. It was covering the entire spectrum of what the production would be like, managing, everything. It contained everything for me. That the visuals were there, the storyline were there, the teamwork was there. All of those was helping me, or actually letting me, understand the production even more. And it became such a valuable source for me. And I think it was pretty much like that for, I would say, at least from what I'm thinking, it was for most people that were kind enough to help us on the project. Because you couldn't really expect someone who is jumping on board to help you with such a project that hasn't been done in this way before to know what they should do. So for them as well, I mean, you need to have some sort of a documentation. We had like a Wikipedia for documentation that was a lot of pages that we made sure that has all the information that we could put in there, so that it makes it easier to distribute it to everyone who is joining the team. But yeah, that's what I would say. It was just a ton of
experience.
Yeah.
And has it opened any door whatsoever? Has it increased the opportunities in your careers?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the main reasons that I'm actually here is because of that project. That I'm in, I'm doing what I'm doing today, because it's a very, let's say, effective material. And even the director himself, Carlos, is actually right now directing a film for Paramount Pictures, which is gonna come out hopefully next year. I mean, with COVID, you don't know what they're gonna be like anymore. But yeah, I mean, it opened a lot of doors for us. We had multiple team members that we're able to get other job offers, go to different places. So It's yeah, I mean that's kind of in other sense when you look at it, you spend all this time on a project. There's always like there's not just that time that you're spending. There's going to be aftermath, and the aftermath can be can be usually positive if you are doing something that's actually valuable.
Excellent. Now, what about digital domain? Why don't you talk to us about that?
So I joined Digital Domain a year and a half ago. So far, I joined the company as lighting rendering, research and development. For me, it's like a mix of both doing creative tasks and also technical tasks, because that's how I get myself interested, in working. I like coming up with solutions, doing like programming, developing. I also really enjoy the artistic aspect of it. So my first project at DD was Black Widow, and interestingly, that show did need a lot of technical stuff, and also I was doing the lighting, doing like the creative stuff. That was pretty fun, and since then I kind of started doing that. And in a few projects, I became the lighting lead on a few projects after that, and right now working on Fantastic Beasts 3.
Oh, wow, I love that movie. Fantastic Beasts. Yeah,
nice.
I loved it.
It's great.
Yeah, we do have a few team members that are super stoked for that as well.
Great. Hasin, what about the future of VFX? Do you see it very much attached to Unreal Engine?
I see that it's starting to get there, especially with Unreal Engine really putting stuff out there almost on a regular basis, and every single of them is like jaw-dropping. I personally haven't had a chance to play with it, even though I really wanted to, but I can definitely see that it's gonna make a big impact. There's all of productions that are happening that are just real time. It's funny, I was talking to a friend of mine who is about to make a short film, and he's putting a team together, and we were discussing the solutions that we would have for the pipeline and where to render it. And then we were like, yeah, why don't we just use Unreal? Because that's real time, it's free. What's not there? And even the look of the project is like stylized. It doesn't require any like high-end VFX effect. It's just like a stylized cartoony. That's like the perfect option for it. You don't really have to spend tons of money on rendering resources. Exactly. You just have to have like a proper working pipeline, and you can just feed it whatever you need, and that's going to give you the material in real time.
Yeah, that's true. And talking about Real Engine and the certification that we NOUVA and Boutique, the new school, are promoting, what will be the inspiring words that you will give to the students and professionals who are willing to learn new softwares, and this software specifically, and apply also to companies like Digital Domain or other ones? What would you say to them to be that inspiration, that passion?
Yeah, as long as I told you my story. For me, it was just a passion. I didn't really care about what it's going to need. I just wanted to have the passion. I'm sure it's like that for everyone as well. If you want to learn something, then it doesn't matter how hard it is, you're going to do it. You just need to, follow it step by step, even though the learning curve might be different from application to application. And it's also remember to note that it's not the application that does the job for you. You can do something with any application. It's your passion, it is time that you put into it, and also, being into it to make a decision to actually try to figure it out. When you do it, then that's going to become something for you that you're going to understand, that's going to be applicable to any application that you are working with. With Unreal Engine, there's a ton of materials online. There's schools. There shouldn't be any issues in learning that. It should be just, putting your time, setting your mind into, I need to do this in this period of time. I'm going to do whatever I can, and just circle back to it after like that period of time, see how much you learned, and just keep track of it, continue doing it. And there's one thing that I also suggest doing is you may fail at finding like a solution, but during your failures in playing with an application, you always see different new things that you were not supposed to see at that time, but all of those are going to come in handy for you later. They may not be handy for you right now, but maybe next few weeks you will see them and, oh, I know how to do this. I did this by mistake like a couple of weeks ago, and I can use that to my advantage.
We thank you very much for this time, Yasin, and for everybody that's watching this podcast. We have a new friend. So thank you very much.